This time, Congress did not wait until the 11th hour to avoid a government shutdown. Last night, the Senate ended a standoff and agreed on legislation that will likely keep federal agencies running for another 6 weeks. That funding was set to run out Friday night. The breakthrough, though, came when FEMA said it could stretch its depleted disaster relief funds to the end of the week. The two parties were split over how to fund the agency. For more this morning, Politico's David Mark joins us from Washington. David, good morning to you.
Good morning. Good to be with you.
Good to have you here this morning. This plan not signed, sealed, and delivered yet, but looking pretty good.
That's right. It looks like we're inching toward a deal. House and Senate leaders have come up with this kind of convoluted system, this whole series of pieces of legislation that will keep the government running for another 7 weeks or so. It doesn't sound like a long time, but it sure is longer than we were expecting until very recently.
This agreement will fund federal agencies until November 18th. You think we'll see another standoff then?
Probably. As you say, this funding only goes for a few weeks. It gives politicians on Capitol Hill the opportunity to go at this once again. A lot of them might want to do that for political purposes, even if it's bad for the country. So we could see fights like this potentially every few months or so through Election Day 2012.
And you've got these fights. Congress had a hard time agreeing on how to help Americans hurt by natural disasters, even a partisan deal on that.
Right. As you mentioned, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, they basically had to go hat in hand to Congress begging for a few more days extension of their funding. It seems to have been taken care of now for a few weeks, but that's not an image that may play well with a lot of voters out there.
A part of the debt ceiling deal last month was set up to avoid these kinds of shutdown threats. It's only been a month. Why are we talking about this again?
It's a slightly different system with the debt ceiling versus the annual budget appropriations process. This is something that was supposed to have been completed by September 30th. Clearly, it's not. So now they're in a position of having to go through and pass these short-term extensions. They may have to do it several times more over the next 13 months or so.
Let's talk about the election now in the GOP field. A new CBS News New York Times poll finds that less than half of Republican voters are satisfied with the candidates they have to choose from. Think anybody else will get into the race?
I think it's getting to be pretty late in the game. I think Rick Perry, the governor of Texas, is kind of a cautionary tale on that front. We're seeing the stumbles and bumbles that he's having on the campaign trail. He seems to be having a hard time getting up to speed on a series of national issues. So I'm sure New Jersey Governor Chris Christie is giving that a close look and saying, do I really want to put myself through that right now?
Do you think he will?
It doesn't seem like he is going in that direction. Some of his close colleagues, like Tom Kean, the former governor, Republican governor of New Jersey, says Christie is actively considering it. When it comes down to it, though, Christie himself has laid out a pretty coherent set of reasons why it's not the time to run. He says he's simply not up to speed. He said that just a couple months ago. Now he would have to almost completely reverse himself.
Let's go back to that poll. What does that poll say about President Obama's chances? If the rank and file Republicans aren't happy with their candidates, how can they convince independent voters?
Right. It says the electorate is unsettled. A lot of people are really keeping an open mind. President Obama's personal ratings are consistently high, but people are very concerned about his policies. At the same time, none of the Republican candidates really seem to be closing the deal with voters. So it is a volatile electorate, and it could go either way.
All right, David. I'm sure we'll be talking to you again next week, probably on the same issue. David Mark from Politico joining us from Washington this morning. David, thank you.
Thank you.